Well, thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for yet another edition of Inside the Zone. Glenn Marini's off, so I'm filling in for him. But as always, we've got the News Sentinel sports editor, Tom Davis, here to drop some knowledge on us. And first of all, let's just recap Week 6. On paper, the games didn't seem to be that great, but there were some real barn burners, and it all starts with Concordia, Bishop Luers in an overtime thriller.
Yeah, that's why they play the game, right? You can't go by what's on paper. There were a number of teams that pulled off upsets last week, none bigger than Concordia, who had struggled against Luers over the last 15 years. But when you have a quarterback like Michael Starks who can throw for 3 touchdowns and run for 2 more, you can get some things done, and that's what Concordia did. Coach Dorfler had talked about their offense was inconsistent leading up to that game, but they exploded for 42 points. So obviously they rectified any offensive problems that they had.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can score that many points is always a good thing. And when you end a 4-game slide in the process against a rival in the SAC, maybe that's what this team needed to maybe turn things around.
Well, you want to be playing your best football at the end of the season, and maybe Concordia is doing that. They won the opening night against Northside, and then they'd struggled since then. But granted, they had played some really tough teams. I think they had played 4 teams with a combined 3 losses. So the schedule gets a little bit easier heading into the sectional.
Now Concordia will travel to Northrop this week, and Luers will host Northside. Another close game was in the NHC. The defending 3A champs, Belmont, they barely squeaked by the Chargers. A blocked field goal ends up giving them the win. How was this such a game?
Well, what was impressive about Belmont, first of all, they're an experienced team that knows how to win close games, obviously. They went to the state championship last year. But what was impressive is they bounced back from their really bad loss against Homestead. When a team goes through a humiliating loss, you never really know what they're going to do the next week. But Belmont was able to come up with the late plays. They got a field goal in the last few minutes, and then they made the key block, like you said, to seal the deal against Carol last week. But I tell you, Carol is a much better team than their 2-4 record indicates. Them and South Adams are both like that. They're both 2-4, but Carol's played some teams really, really tough this year, and so it was a good win for the Braves. Heartbreaking loss for Carol.
Yeah, I'm sure Carol's beside themselves. They were up 13-0 in that game, up 16-13 at the half, and it comes down to a field goal, and Anthony Steebing just crushing the Chargers' hopes with 20 seconds left. Belmont will host New Haven this week. Carol travels to Homestead. The big
Good luck
battle,
on that one.
The big battle of the NHC right there. Before we get to that one, though, let's talk about Norwell and East Noble. This was kind of the trend we were just talking about. The trend was teams who haven't won in a long time against other teams. This was the case with Norwell.
Oh, it was. Norwell is a pretty good team in their own right. They're 5-1 this year, and East Noble is down a notch from what they normally are. They're only 3-3. But Clay Fichter, Norwell's star running back, just went off in the first half, ran for almost 200 yards in the first half, and had 3 touchdowns in the first half. So Norwell jumped out to the lead, and then they were able to manage the clock by running the ball throughout the second half, and they kept East Noble at bay. Good win for the Knights. They had played some tough teams really well, but fell, and but good win for the Knights.
I think it kind of goes without saying that the Knights of Norwell, they kind of go as Clay Fichter goes. That's pretty obvious with their loss to Belmont. It seems like every time they get a win, Fichter's over 200 yards.
Yeah, he's a tough kid. He's a hard-nosed runner. He's not just a speedy kid. He'll go inside the tackles and pound on you, and you do that enough times and it wears the defense down. It's kind of like boxers punch into the body, just eventually wearing the other team down, and that's what Norwell likes to do. But you're right. As Fichter goes, so go the Norwell Knights.
East Noble will travel to Columbia City this week. Norwell hosting undefeated Homestead at the Courtyard. That should be a battle down in Ossian, that's for sure. Leo and Heritage, that was our game of the week this week. It was a big battle of ACAC powers. They were both undefeated going in, but Leo just, they sent a message early and often in that one.
Well, they've sent a message to a lot of teams this year. In fact, the showdown looming on the horizon is undefeated as far as conference play, Leo versus undefeated Garrett in conference play. But Leo's offense has just been marvelous this year. And Connor Kasser and Kyle Marzak combined for 327 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win over the Patriots. And that's what they did. They just ran over Heritage, literally. But Leo's offense has carried them this year. Obviously, their defense played really well, too, holding Heritage to to just 6 points. So it's turning into a very special season for Leo, and if they can get past Garrett, they've got the conference title.
Exactly, and I think the wind was taken out of the Patriots' sails after they scored that touchdown. Marzak returns the touchdown, 75 yards, and there wasn't any scoring in the second half, which was kind of odd.
Right, it was, but that takes your momentum. It just takes your heart right out of you when you have a high moment and then you turn around and you give up a special teams touchdown. It just kills you, and obviously Leo built on that momentum.
Absolutely. Leo, they will host Woodland this week, and Heritage hosts Bluffton. Of course, that big showdown between Leo and Garrett looming next week. And then one other game we were going to hit on, big county rivalry. South Adams beating Adams Central 21-7. And anytime you can beat an in-county rival, it's always a big win.
Well, South Adams had dropped 4 of the last 16 matches to Adams Central. So Adams Central, under the veteran coach Minnick, had kind of had the Starfire's number. But South Adams, like Carroll, is one of those teams. They're 2-4, but they played a really difficult schedule in the non-conference schedule, and so they're a lot better than their record indicates. And a lot of their losses have been close losses as well. So South Adams is really a hard team to play against, and Adams Central found that out.
Yeah, Adams Central is kind of struggling right now. They started off 2-0, and now they've lost 4 straight. They really need to get off the schneid a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't play tough teams in their first 2 games, whereas South Adams did. And so it's kind of misleading when you look at it. Well, they were 2-0 going into conference play, and South Adams was 0-2. But sometimes playing those difficult teams early helps prepare you for conference play, and obviously that's what South Adams has learned this year.
Absolutely. Well, AC will travel to Southern Wells this week. South Adams will host Garrett. I can't believe 6 weeks of the high school football season is over. Week 7 looming. We will preview that coming up in the next segment.